check on the honeyhorn beehives on Hilton Head Island. The smoker is nothing more than a fire pot with a bellows, like a coal furnace, that produces a cool white smoke. That smoke does two things. First, bees inside this beehive, they communicate chemically between each other. The bees in the front are going to release a signal called a pheromone that warns the other bees, intruder in the hive. This smoke will block them from being able to communicate that way. The second thing the smoke does is it causes the bees to ingest honey in preparation to flee the hive, believing that a forest fire is coming to burn their colony down. That honey that they store is the raw ingredient that they use to produce beeswax to make new honeycombs in their next location. I have about 60 hives on the island. Those 60 hives are spread out throughout the different plantations here, where they're typically put adjacent to the farms that are within the communities so that the bees pollinate those crops. There are only 2 hives in this particular apiary. We've lost a number of hives to the pests that are endemic now to the United States, which range from varroa mites, which introduce viruses into bees, as well as small hive beetles that came here from South Africa. So bees are suffering. It's the question that we get at most farmers markets: what's happening to the bees? And the answer is there's a lot that's happening to the bees. I started beekeeping back in 1988 at Clemson University. I had the opportunity to take care of 5 beehives that were abandoned, and before I knew it, my entire household was full of 2-liter soft drink bottles full of honey. I didn't know what to do with all the honey that I'd collected, and slowly but surely over the years, I began to develop relationships both at Clemson and at other universities and through local beekeeping and national beekeeping organizations, learning more and more about bees. Beekeeping is different than a lot of other agricultural pursuits, especially the USDA considers bees to be livestock. If you look at other livestock like sheep, horses, cows, if a cow is lame, you know there's something wrong with its leg. If a horse has a cough, you know that there's something wrong with its respiratory system. With bees, when you look into a beehive, you need to be able to read the honeycombs and the condition of the bees as you move through the combs. Obviously, people associate the pursuit of beekeeping with the production of honey. Typically 50 to 60 pounds of honey per beehive is what we expect here. Other products of the beehive include beeswax, where you can make skin creams and candles and other things from the beeswax. There's also another product from the beehive called royal jelly that's harvested from the production of queen honeybees. Has a lot of health benefits. Another product is called propolis. Bees don't have an immune system with white blood cells like you and I do, so the bees go out into the environment and find medicinal plant resins and balsams and bring those back to the beehive and essentially shellac the entire hive with that material, creating an external immune system, if you will. And then one of the other interesting products that bees produce is actually bee venom. Honeybees are not native insects. There are hundreds of native bees to North America, including a lot of the bumblebees, but honeybees themselves are from Europe. They were first brought to continental North America, not to Jamestown, where a lot of people describe them as coming in, but they were brought to Santa Elena out on Paris Island, the first settlement in this area that the Spanish settled in 1564. Bees, by the time Jamestown was settled in 1622, were already 200 miles inland, 200 miles north and 200 miles south. They had spread out and set up a big footprint in North America. They liked it here. And they were essential to the colonists of that period in time, not just for the sugar that they produced in the form of honey, but also for the beeswax that yielded candles for their homes. A lot of beekeepers are passionate. A lot of beginning beekeepers don't realize how much work is involved in beekeeping. We end up with about a 1/3 to 1/2 retention rate of all the new beekeepers we train in bee school, because they realize they can't simply put bees in their backyard and expect them to survive. So the passion that's required needs to latch on to one of the specialties within beekeeping that may interest you. It could be entomology, which is the study of insects. It could be woodworking, building all the different boxes and equipment that we use within beekeeping. It could be a passion for food, where you really love to work with honey and the other byproducts that you can make from honey, like wine. It could be a passion for botany, where you want to pollinate, say, the garden crops that you're growing. So it really could be a gardening passion. But one or more of those passions combined to make someone a beekeeper in a way that you're working with your bees towards an end. Some beekeepers work to produce honey. Others work, say for instance, on St. Helena Island to pollinate watermelons, cantaloupes, and other cucurbits that are produced out there in St. Helena. So it depends on what your passion is as to whether you pursue one or more of those ideas of honey production, pollen production, bee production, pollination. A lot of different arenas that you can be involved in.